How are you doing today? Okay. I've been back to myself. So, let me start with a little story here. I remember one day when I received all these awards at school, and I got this loud applause, of course, and with these words of praise, and I stood up, I smiled, I nodded my head along with the audience, and I thanked the crowd. But in my head, I was thinking, well, at least all my work got me something. Because the certificates in my hand didn't feel like a win. They felt like a receipt that said, in trade for all my joy and my rest and my sense of self, in return, I get an applause that doesn't reach me. Have you ever felt that way when you achieve something but you feel nothing? Let's say you pour your heart into a project and then you hesitate. You ask your friends, hey, what do you think about this? And then you over-edit it, and in the end, the final product doesn't sound like you. Or you have lists of goals that you want to fulfill and achieve. But once you reach that point, you don't get that sense of fulfillment that you thought you'd have. And it's weird when an achievement feels like a transaction. And this is something that we all learned when we were young, that love felt conditional most of the time. Because in that moment, I asked myself, what the audience may see is perfect. But if perfection left me empty, what could I fill myself up with? And so, yeah, I just thought, if love was conditional, well, that's what we learned when we were younger. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. So when we were young, most of us learned that love was conditional. That in order to be seen, heard, or praised, we had to earn it. Now, for some of us, this may be through perfect grades, having that perfect recital, maybe keeping up with the trends that our friends followed, or we would impress our higher-ups. And so, we performed a version of ourselves that was deemed more lovable, rewardable, and acceptable. And this phase, I call the damned river. Now, I want to relate this process of unlearning perfection with marbling art, where, you put ink in water and it flows freely. Clearly, not in this canvas right here, but what I'm saying is that I wanted to bring out actual art that represents this, and I want to bring actual ink and water, but life is unexpected, so we have digital marbling right here. So instead of a brush, I have a mouse, and I'm just clicking with it. And it's a different medium, I know, but still, I made something out of it. But anyways, this is the damned river. Now, this orange part right here, this part right here, that's you. And this is what managed to make it through the cracks of the dam. And now there's a lot of fight between the need for control and fear. Fear of what? Fear of social conformity, just fear of being accepted, and even childhood conditioning. Because let's be honest, when we fell short of expectations, we had consequences. It started off as yelling, maybe taking away the video games for a week. But then it slowly became quiet consequences. Maybe a colder glare from somebody, less attention from somebody you admired, and that certain distance that made you flinch. And so you chased this more acceptable, you chased that warmth of approval, and you became somebody who was farther from the truth of yourself. And sooner or later, you get tired of it. You drop it. You just drop this act of what perfection was deemed to be. And this is not the part where you have an identity crisis and you fall into this emotional rut and you cry for years. No, because at some point, you have to have a matter budget where you utilize where you spend your energy, where you sacrifice yourself, and who gets a say in your life. And now that might feel like freedom, letting go, prioritizing myself, yay. But that freedom is temporary. Because once you realize that you can do something for yourself, the fear of doing yourself imperfectly comes in. And that phase I call the stagnant water, where you are in the middle still trapped, and you're not really moving. Instead of freedom, you're knee-deep in the water. You're stuck staring at this blank canvas, that unfilled application that asks you about yourself, or those untouched piano keys. And it's like, well, what now? And for me, this really hit me when I was in jazz. And now I'm a jazz major, And the core of our craft is improvisation. And when we improvise, it's not a free-for-all, of course. We have the key of the song, we have chord changes, and we have a groove. But the thing is, you just gotta play your notes. And, well, you don't have any notes to play, you just come up with it on the spot. And when it was my time in the light to improvise, I froze. I freaked out. Not because I didn't care about improvising before. I did care. A little too much. I was so worried about playing the right notes, fitting in and contributing to the musical conversation happening in front of me. And all these paralyzing thoughts came in like, well, I didn't really practice it before, so of course I'll sound bad. Or, I don't know much music theory myself, so why am I, you know? And I feel like we all have those paralyzing thoughts of self-doubt that stop us before the moment of action. And just like that, improvisation was a mirror of my life, that resistance to change. Because sometimes you don't have the clarity to start. Clarity doesn't always come before action. Sometimes it comes through doing it yourself and you just figure it out along the way. And you just go for it. And it's not peaceful, it's not calm, it's not smooth, it's messy and it's unpredictable. And you throw yourself into the rapid river where it's like, you just go for it, you're everywhere. Now you spread yourself out to every direction, every current, just trying to figure it out. And in this rapid river, you're exposing yourself. You're unpolished, unclear, and this is where vulnerability begins. For me, when I was in this phase, I love what I do. I play guitar, I record music, but it wasn't the perfect verse or recording the cleanest guitar solo that left the biggest impression on me. What left the biggest impression on me was keeping the most honest take, the one with the trembly voice and the unclean guitar solo, something where maybe static existed when it was supposed to be this clean sound. And just like that, every note in a guitar solo isn't always perfect because you have some bends in life where not everything's in perfect pitch, but it's in perfect feeling. And that's vulnerability, showing your unpolished self. Because when was the last time you had a deep conversation with someone? They're unpolished, they showed their cracks. But you didn't see it as weakness. You saw it as strength in them, to be brave enough to show that they're not perfect themselves. So you should give yourself that same grace and be unafraid to show that unpolished version of yourself because that's you and that's enough. You've always been enough. And eventually, when you embrace this vulnerability, life will hit you, these currents will hit you with unexpected experiences, things that will shape you, and that vulnerability matures into something big, and that's the open ocean. Now, before we get into it, think about your favorite artists. Who do you like to listen to? Who do you like to decorate your time with? That artist, keep them in mind. Think about their earliest work and think about their latest work. Now, there's going to be a big difference because each artist goes through a different era, a different persona, a different vibe and color, but that's not because they're lost. That's actually because they're giving themselves a space to say something new. Everybody is not going to be the same from day one, of course, and you're going to be new every time. And that's not disrespect to the person that you started as. That's actually the highest honor because you're giving yourself space to say something new. And I feel like in this phase, you're not static, you're seasonal. Sometimes some eras might be colorful and neon, while others are soft, calm, and introspective. And that's part of it. And that life experience of yours is always expanding. But how do I navigate an ocean of me that's always expanding? How do I sail forward? And that's where you have tidal control. Now, tidal control, let's think about it. All the waves in the ocean need the moon's gravitational pull to all come together. And the tides know when to rise and fall. And just like that, you must have boundaries with your creativity. And I'm not saying, well, it might sound counterintuitive to be like, well, why do I need boundaries? Why do I need structure? Because if I'm exploring, then should I just be free? Well, how long are you going to brainstorm until you build something? And how long are you going to consume creativity before you create something? Because you can have all these ideas in your head, but if you can't capture it, all you'll do is spill yourself out and all those thoughts will evaporate. So you have to find that one idea to stick with. That one idea to stick with long enough to bring it to life and move forward. And just like that, we build something here, which you maybe see as like a flower in a crate. No, something just that came in my mind while I was making this marbling art. But yeah, with freedom comes flow, and with chaos comes craft, and with flow comes focus and structure. Because structure frees you. You are the director, you are the manager, and you're the executor of your own life. And having this foundation to build off of is important because at some point you'll start overthinking. If I'm making a song and I start with the piano and vocals, but I'm already thinking about the drums and the lyrics and the instrumentation and the bridge and the chorus and the oh my gosh, so on and so on, I'm gonna get stuck. So just work on it step by step and just hold on. With tidal control, you can navigate through this open ocean. So now you went from the dammed river to the stagnant water to the rapid rivers, and then you went from the rapid river to the open ocean, and now you have tidal control. So, what will you make? Because our legacy at the end of the day is not the materials or the awards or the things that we gain, but snapshots of us in motion. Just like this art, it's not just art, it's snapshots of you in movement. And just like that, you're able to leave something for generations to learn from and not only see. Thank you.